If you visited Reddit comment sections at any point in the past decade or so, chances are good that you've heard whispers of a place called the Warlizard Gaming Forums. It all stems from a user named Warlizard with a very prolific comment history. With highly upvoted comments often floating around the default subs, people will often ask him, "Hey, are you the Warlizard? The guy from the Warlizard Gaming Forums?" But he had no idea what the Warlizard Gaming Forums were. But few people really question this occasional interaction. I mean, it's not unheard of. I've definitely run into friends from old forums on Reddit before. It's a big internet out there, and there's a lot of gaming forums, even now where it seems like the internet is consolidated into people just refreshing the same 3 or 4 websites over and over again. But these Warlizard gaming forums, they ain't what they seem. And that's why for this episode of Tales from the Internet, I want to ask the question, who is Warlizard and what were the Warlizard gaming forums? If you watched my video on Unidan, you'll recall that I mentioned a number of other famous Redditors, one of them being Warlizard. And unlike Unidan, Warlizard remains active on Reddit to this very day. You can look at his history and see plenty of comments from just this week alone. And you can see plenty of replies to these comments still reading, "Hey, aren't you that guy from the Warlizard Gaming Forum?" To which he'll still often respond with epic Reddit face. But you'd think that with so many people talking about these Warlizard gaming forums that they'd be more popular than they are, yet have you ever been there? Have you ever visited the Warlizard gaming forum? I mean, if you've ever been to the Warlizard gaming forum, I guess let me know. But to know the story of Warlizard, we had to go all the way back to April of 2010. Although at this point, Warlizard had already been on Reddit for about a year, this was his breakthrough moment, a thread by Karmanaut entitled, "What is the stupidest thing you've ever had an argument about?" Here was his response. "My ex-fiancée worked at a vet and her job included jacking off the dogs for the purpose of artificial insemination. I didn't realize that it was a labor of love until she mentioned her first orgasm came from a dog." What? Yeah, it turned out she really liked dogs. I never looked at our dog the same way again. Oddly enough, she kept him when we broke up. We were sitting on the couch one night, watching TV, when she blurted out that her first orgasm came from a dog. I don't know what to say. On one hand, what the fuck? But on the other hand, this was a woman I'd asked to marry me. So I asked for clarification. She said she was 13 or 14 and was sitting naked in her room when the dog came up to her, sniffing around. He started licking, it felt good, so she let him keep doing it, and then she came. Wow. Yeah, it gets worse. I broke up with her, and she was kinda of clingy, so I introduced her to Ann Buddy I thought might get along with her. They got married and had 2 kids. Last year, she decided she liked women better, so left her husband for this fat chick. No big deal, you say. Well, after about 8 months, she decided that she wasn't really gay and is now dating a guy. Her twin sister decided that she is gay, left her husband, and is now dating the girl that my ex left her husband for. It's pretty sordid. Yeah, I visited her ex-husband this past week, and he was surprisingly resigned to the whole thing. It actually gets worse, but it's kind of a long story. The suspense is killing me. I'm making dinner, lol. I'm trying to figure out how much background information to give. The crazy parents that drained her bank account with her permission, the abortion, the sister that killed the guy, the retarded brother, the pain porn, the boyfriend that tied her up and let his friends fuck her, etc. It's just so crazy that it doesn't seem real. Putting it all down in one place is just, well, I guess I haven't thought of it in a long time. So Warlizard went and he cooked his dinner and I assume he enjoyed it, and then he came back and decided to post the full story. It's a long one, so get a snack. Okay, so here's the story. Probably best to give a little background. This was back in 1992, right after I got out of the army. I returned to college and fell back into my old routine. Go to class, get back, start drinking, pass out, repeat. So anyway, I was at a bar one night and this girl introduced me to her twin sister. I'll call her Betty, since I don't know anyone by that name. Betty was funny and liked to drink, so after about an hour or so of partying, she said, "Want to go back to your place and fuck?" Well, yes I did. I liked the fact that she was completely open about sex and was unashamed to admit it. We were pretty wrecked, but we had fun, so we started seeing each other. Sex was pretty vanilla initially until I found her giant box of dildos and porn under her bed. She had books that were borderline S&M, 5 or so different dildos, and that's when things began to get interesting. Turned out she loved anal. Loved it. At first this was fun, in the oh my god, I am dating a freak. But it got old pretty quick. Turned out I didn't want to shove something up her ass every time we fooled around. If I didn't get a finger or a dildo or something in there, she wouldn't come. Well, instead of it being something kinda dirty and fun, it became a chore. There were no special occasion things that she'd do, everything was open all the time. We had dated for a few months when she started to open up. I know, but everything is relative. She told me about her last boyfriend, how he had tied her face down on the bed, blindfolded her, and let his friends come in and fuck her. She thought this was awesome and a huge turn-on. Okay, I didn't really like thinking of my girlfriend as some cum receptacle, but I figured that maybe it was all in the past. I also wondered why she wanted to be degraded. I came home one day and found her dildo deep watching porn, and that got us talking more about porn and what we liked. We ordered some CDs with stories, pics, videos, etc. This was before the internet, and I realized the stories she loved were the ones that included pain and actual damage. One favorite story of hers had some guy squirting boiling oil into this girl's vagina, and I think it kills her. Betty loved it. I had no idea why. Anyway, after a few more months, she mentioned she had an abortion when she was 14. This was obviously something that was pretty secret, so after telling me this, she said she wanted me to meet her family. I already knew her twin sister. She, her boyfriend Betty, and I hung out constantly. I didn't know her mother had 2 other kids from a previous marriage. Betty had an older sister who lived in the projects and had a half-black kid. This may seem like nothing to you and me, but I realized why it was a big deal when I met her parents. Her dad was old-school Southern and hated Jews, blacks, and everyone not white. So his daughter having a half-black child was huge. The fact that she lived in the projects was even a bigger deal, since the parents were pretty well off. At least they were when I met them. Her brother, the other child from the first marriage, was borderline retarded. The first time I met him, he was about 3 hours into a 2-tab acid trip. I never saw him when he wasn't under the influence of something and his life was one long, unbroken string of failure. Nothing he did succeeded. Still hasn't. Okay, so we met the parents, and it turned out her dad was this super cool guy back when he was young. He had a red convertible, was popular around campus, etc. He married this woman with 2 kids when he had his pick of the litter, so our supposition was that she did something so freaky that he had to marry her to keep it. The mom was this fucking drunk bimbo. I couldn't stand her, and I got a really strange vibe from her. A few months later, Betty told me that her parents are almost bankrupt. Turned out her father was accused of having an affair with one of his employees, a girl whose responsibilities included paying employee taxes. Well, she didn't, so the story goes, and so the IRS came after Betty's parents. About this time, Betty's aunt died. Betty and her sister both inherited about $30,000 each. Betty ended up giving her parents all of it in drips and drabs over the course of about 6 months. They had no money coming in, so she basically supported them. The messed up part was that her parents were used to living large and wouldn't admit they were just fucked, so they kept spending Betty's money until it was gone. Then they lost the house. The whole time I kept telling her that she was throwing it away, but she said her parents just needed to get a few things going and she'd be fine. They would pay her back. They never did. We had been together about a year, and I drunkenly proposed one night after most of a bottle of cheap scotch. She immediately called her twin sister, her parents, and everyone else in the world to tell them we were getting married. Well, fuck. No one holds anyone to a drunken proposal. Anyway, I thought, well, why not? She's cool, she's as crazy as anyone I've known, and she does exactly what she's told. Yep, she did exactly what she was told. She wasn't a slave, but she sure acted like one. Betty, go do XYZ. Great, on my way. This was another aspect of her personality that really rocked my world at first, but got old fast. Everyone says they want a girl like that, but oh my god, it sucks. Betty, I believe X. Me, that makes no sense. Here's why. Why. Betty, I believe Y. She would change her mind and enthusiastically support me no matter what. I used to test her by changing my mind on basic things just to see how far she'd go. Never reached her limits. It was about this time she told me about her first orgasm coming from a dog. As I mentioned earlier, I had no idea how to respond, but I tended to look at our dog a bit suspiciously after that. So to summarize, I'm now engaged to a submissive torture porn fan who required anal stimulation to come, who has bankrupt parents, a ghetto sister, a retarded brother, and a twin sister who by now I totally wanted to fuck. This was the only line I ever found that she wouldn't cross, by the way. So I bought a nice diamond ring and brought her up to meet my parents. This did not go well. Since we are pretty broke, my sister said Betty could wear her wedding dress. Good in theory, bad in practice. My mom and sister took Betty into the back room so she could try it on. Betty tried to say no, but they insisted. Well, she wasn't wearing any underwear. Who cares, you may say? Well, my family is hyper-conservative, so this freaked everyone out. Big time. Parents told me they thought she was nice, that they just wanted me to be happy. This is Southern speak for run. We got back to school. By now we were living together, sort of, and decided to take a road trip. I really didn't like her too much anymore, but she was fun, everyone else loved her, and hey, road trips are fun. We drove up to New York and visited an old army buddy. He and I used to tag team chicks in Germany, and I knew Betty liked multiple guys at once, so I asked him if he wanted a shot with her. He was pretty surprised and couldn't believe I'd offer him my fiancée, but by this time, I was pretty much done with her and coasting on inertia. I didn't respect her anymore. She was just way too needy. We fucked her a few times, the last time I got bored and left her to finish him off. I was pretty much done with her, and not too long after we got back, we broke up. Fast forward a few months, by now her drunk bimbo mom has moved on to greener pastures, i.e. someone with money. Her sister has been acquitted of manslaughter. Oh shit, forgot that part. Her ghetto sister shot some guy that broke into her house. Her twin sister is dating some guy named John, not real name, Natch, and she had dropped out of school. She was bugging the hell out of me, wanting to get back together, so I hooked her up with John's best friend, also named John. They got married, had a few kids, and we lost touch. She came to my wedding reception, met my wife, we all had a nice time, and she disappeared. Her bimbo drunk mom remarried after about 6 months after leaving her father. Her dad went back to where they grew up, and Betty and John, too, seemed to be very happy. He was bossy and told her exactly what to do, so I figured it was a match made in heaven. Or the pound, whatever. She kept our dog. Fast forward 8 years, I got an email from her saying that her email was changing and she and John, too, were separating. I fired off an instant email asking, what the fuck? She put down a bunch of crap and finally owned up that she was gay. We talked at length, and I pointed out that as she mentioned this earlier, we could have had all sorts of fun. She said she didn't know herself and only recently realized it. Whatever, go follow your dream. Her twin had married John, so the next thing to happen was obvious. Twin divorced John. What one twin did, the other had to do. So now we had 2 divorced twins, one of whom is now dating a big fat woman. Okay, again, go follow your dream. Betty's attitude was the strange part, though. She seemed to believe she had done something really noble by coming out of the closet. Well, it didn't seem that way to me, but hey, whatever. Fast forward another 6 months, I happen to be in the same state as John too, so I dropped by to say hi. He's broken. You ever meet someone who's one dropped plate away from full-on crazy? He is living this kind of desperate routine, where he absolutely his whole life is devoted to his kids. His backyard rivals Neverland, with tree houses, yes, multiple, swings, etc. He wants his kids to have fun every time they are there. I remember him being really funny, now he's just trying to get through the day without blowing his head off. Anyway, he caught me up. Betty is no longer gay. What the fuck? How? Who? What the... WT mother F. This was less than a year after she decided she had to leave her family because she liked pussy better, and now she's not gay? He had no idea, but the fact that her twin was now gay and dating the same girl, let's call her Sally, she left John too for, couldn't be a coincidence. And it gets stranger. Bimbo drunk mom is now a widow. Her 3rd husband died. Suddenly, now she's rich. Betty's father is still broke, but the bimbo is loaded. She has a really nice lake house, where Sally is now living. Yep, the girl who both twins have dated is now living in the twins' mom's lake house, while the twins live in Sally's house. Why? No fucking clue, it makes no sense. I know I've left out a bunch. The ghetto party I attended, the gay bars, her obsession with the Indigo Girls, oh yeah, she was living with her sister in California during the big earthquake, and the time I fell off the wagon and fooled around with her one last time. Oh well. TLDR, I was engaged to a submissive torture porn fan whose first orgasm came from a dog, required anal stimulation to come, who had bankrupt parents, a ghetto sister who shot a guy and killed him, a retarded brother, and a twin sister who later dated her girlfriend after she decided she was gay, left her husband, then got better. The response to this epic tale was massive, and Warlizard quickly developed a reputation of being one of Reddit's greatest storytellers. That was very entertaining. Fucked up, but a great read. Thanks for writing it all down. If you ever decide to write out the full version, including the gay bars, the earthquake, etc., I have to read it. Heh. I always thought my checkered past would make for a fun book, but there's no way I want my kids to ever read it. Even in this story, I realize I look like a total dick. People would demand more, leading to a Reddit AMA and eventually the creation of r/Warlizard for the discussion of all things Warlizard. And he would eventually get around to writing that book released in March of 2011, The Warlizard Chronicles, Adventures with Vodka, Woman, and War, which I'll add to my Amazon store if you're interested. But despite gaining the reputation of being one of Reddit's greatest storytellers, and despite his book being a success with, as I understand it, over 500,000 copies sold, this legacy would be eclipsed, at least by some measures, by what would come next. It all begins with a seemingly innocuous exchange that April. Hey, are you from the Warlizard Gaming Forum? Nope, never heard of it. This was the first time that Warlizard was ever asked about the gaming forum, but if you looked it up then, absolutely nothing would turn up. Maybe this guy remembered the name wrong or confused it with something similar, who knows. You would think that would just be a pretty minor forgettable interaction, right? But then another person would ask, hey, are you from the Warlizard Gaming Forum? And then another, and then another. And over the course of the next few months, it would seem that Warlizard couldn't comment anywhere without being asked about these gaming forums. Eventually, he would just start replying to these comments to promote his book, but nobody really got to the bottom of what this was coming from until an AMA with Mark Kern, the lead developer of World of Warcraft. Warlizard didn't have a question for Mark, he just wanted to leave a comment. Dude, thanks. Vanilla WoW was spectacular. Mind-blowing. Thanks. We had a very passionate team. A lot of credit has to go to Alan Adam, one of the original founders of Blizzard, and probably the industry's best designer that nobody's ever heard of. WoW really was his baby. It's well deserved. I remember just shaking my head in wonder at how much fun it was. And then he gets this reply. Warlizard forums for the win. Dude! Warlizard's response this time was actually pretty interesting because he replied with an image that showed where the name Warlizard came from. His unit from his military days. Perhaps it was this reveal that finally brought the architect of this Warlizard forum debacle out of hiding. Lupin96. Okay, let me break it down for you. Every single person who has ever mentioned the forums was me. It started as a joke from a novelty account. Later, I started doing it from other accounts trying to see how far I could take this until you noticed, but you didn't. I have learned some things about you and honestly, I couldn't have randomly picked a more interesting person. Consider this your Reddit birthday gift. From your stalker. That's fucking brilliant. Well done. And I'm really not that interesting. I just put myself in interesting situations. Now, the tinfoil hat guy in me starts to think, hey, this guy puts out a book in March, and then in April, all of a sudden, he kind of becomes the focus of this meme that gradually takes over Reddit. Don't you think maybe he's doing this to promote his book or something, right? Well, let's take a look at that first comment one more time. It's written by a user with the name Makes You Google Things. This being the novelty account that was mentioned by Lupin, whose purpose was to make you Google things, and up until that point, it was pretty unsuccessful. I'd squat over a mirror all day, coachies. I spent like 5 minutes looking for some definition of the word coachies that would fit the context of the sentence. I'm retarded. I just assumed it was a reference I didn't get until I saw your comment. Makes you Google things. There is actually a popular anime with coachies as a title. Look for it, it's pretty awesome. Oh, you made him Google it. -1 points. Derp. Makes you Google things. If you Google that, the second result actually links to one of your comments. Oh, you lied to him and you made him Google it and you told him to Google it, so he went and Googled it at 1 point. Charlie Sheen. Playing as Steve Urkel in the most anticipated film of the year. Makes you Google things. You posted this 3 times. Search for Reddit Sweet Help on Google. Please don't let this happen again. -17 points. Clearly, Reddit was not enjoying this new novelty account. It was, I guess, just a little bit too ham-fisted. It wasn't until the Warlizard comment that he had found the right level of subtlety and plausibility. He basically had one successful attempt at making this gimmick work, so when it finally did work, he ran with it, and rest assured, Warlizard did Google that. Atmo. For whatever reason, this guy, Lupin86, decided to start trolling the other user, Warlizard, by asking him randomly in different threads around Reddit some variation of, "Hey, are you from the Warlizard forums?" despite there being no Warlizard forums. Warlizard, this is exactly the case, and it worked. I did Google like mad, trying to figure out what the fuck these people were talking about. It's the best prank ever played on me. But here's the thing. At that point, Lupin claimed that he was the only one asking about the Warlizard gaming forums in all of his ults, and I think he had underestimated his influence. I mean, obviously now everybody asks him about the forums, but even back then, Lupin planted those seeds, but those seeds sprouted very quickly, and it was a lot of different people asking about the gaming forums. And to this day, Warlizard is completely unable to avoid questions about the gaming forums, and I'm sure by me making this video, it's gonna make it even worse. And all that being said now, throughout the years, there have been a few attempts of making actual Warlizard gaming forums, but none have stuck, and one has spent most of its time as a memorial to some guy named Dave, so RIP Dave, whoever you are. But anyway, that's it for the Warlizard story. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy the rest of my Reddit videos. I'm out of here.